Okay, so today we are going to be doing another Frontend Mentor challenge, and if you head over to frontendmentor.io/challenges, you can filter out, you can sort everything out just so that it's easier to find everything, and I'm going to sort it by the hardest first and sort it by the free tier. And we are going to be building, where are you? We are going to be building this landing page called INSURE landing page. Now, I really like this challenge because it involves quite a bit of CSS positioning, which I really like because it gives a challenge in terms of laying out a website. And I really love it because it was quite a challenge to me as well. So you can go as well and click the image, click the card, and then you can start challenge. And then just download the starter files for you. And you can see this is my second attempt, which I'm not really going to submit. And then you can head over to whatever the path for your download is, and then just say extract here. And then after extracting, then I'm going to open this up with Visual Studio Code, and then I can close this. Okay, and then I'm going to place this to the side like that. Now we can begin working on, actually you can begin just going through everything that we have. We have the design files, which are just the active states, the desktop design, we have the desktop preview, we have the mobile design, and we have the mobile navigation design, which is this. I think it looks really nice. And then for the images, we have quite a few images. As you can see, we have the intro desktop, which is this image, and the intro mobile, which is our the hero images for our mobile and desktop respectively. And then we have a favicon, which is basically the front-end mentor favicon. And then the rest of these are just SVGs. And then we have a gitignore file, we have an index.html, which has basically everything, our HTML structure. And then we have our readme, and then our style guide, which is our probably our second most important file because it contains all the colors and all the fonts and everything relevant to our project, such as the fonts, which we are going to grab right away. So I'm going to grab this font, I'm going to just copy this inside here, and then what's it called, DMServe display, the weight of 400. So grab this font, and then this second one is called Carla. Oops, what did I do? That is not what I wanted to do. Let me just search for DMSerif display. Is it DMSerif display? Okay, so we want the 400 font. Yeah, we already have it. And then we want the Carla font as well, and we want the 400 and 700. So we need to grab the regular 400, and then we need to grab the bold 700. Then just get over to this, grab the import, and then just copy this, and then we can close this. Now if you go back into our project structure, I'm going to create a style CSS file, so style.css like that, and then just paste this in. And then I'm going to say that for the body, I want the font family to be Carla and a fallback of sans serif, right? And I lost my train of thought. Okay, yeah, I've got it back. So and then I want my headings also, my h1, h2, h3, h4, h5, and h6 to all have a font family of DM serif display and a fallback of sans serif as well, just like that. So once I save this, then everything should work fine, except that it won't because I haven't linked this in my index.html. So I just need to link my style sheet. So link this inside my HTML as style.css like that. Okay, now I don't want to save this file, and the reason is because I have format on save. Now I don't want to format because it is going to mess me up quite a bit in terms of everything. And what I mean is, if I save this, then this happens, which it just becomes a nightmare in terms of copying and pasting and in terms of just structuring everything for your HTML. Okay, so what I'm going to do instead is, what do I need to do? Let me remove this style first of all because I don't really need it. Now remember that if you're doing this project for the first time, then you probably want to have this attribution in your style sheet and in your HTML as well, because it links to this in terms of who made the project and where the project came from. So it's really nice to have, but because I've already done it, then I'm just going to remove it and remove this style as well. And then obviously, because I'm too lazy to think of my own class names, then I'm going to be using tailwindcss. So I'm going to head over to cdnjs.com. And please, that is not to say that using a framework means you're lazy to think of class names. The internet these days, man. Okay, so let me search for Tailwind CSS and just grab the link tag right there and then just paste it below this. And I'm pasting it deliberately below my style sheet because I want this to be evaluated first before our Tailwind CSS can be evaluated, because as you know, HTML is evaluated from top to bottom. And then once we do this, then I've just remembered that I want to grab Font Awesome as well, which will deal with our icons. So just search for Font Awesome once again, copy this link tag and then paste it right inside there. Okay, so everything seems to be moving fine. I can close this page and let me have my design open in another tab. So I'm going to grab this image and let me grab the, where's my design? I want my design for the mobile design, of course, because as you know, I'm going to be building it mobile first. So I want this to be open right there. Okay, so this looks nice. This looks nice. Quite a bit of work to do, but we'll get there. So let's begin by creating our header. I'm going to go inside my HTML and I'm going to create an HTML5 element called header, like that. And this header is going to have my logo. So I'm going to create a div inside here and add an image here, which should go inside images / should be logo, right? Logo.svg. And for the alt, in case the image doesn't exist, then I'm just going to say INSURE logo. And then inside here, I'm going to create a div with a class of i.fas.fa-bars. And actually, I don't think this is a good idea. Okay. And then I'm going to comment this out for now because this is part of our navbar, which we are going to toggle using this. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do that in JavaScript. It's not really hard. And then the next section we're going to create is our showcase, which is basically this image as well as this section right there looking nice. So I'm going to say create this section. I'm going to call this showcase, place a comment, and I'm going to say section with a class of showcase. And inside here, I'm going to have a div, and this div is going to have an h1 that says humanizing your insurance, like that. And below this h1, we're going to have a paragraph, right? Is that correct? Let me just confirm this. Right, a paragraph that says all this. So I'm going to grab these 3 lines, just move it up. And then below this paragraph, I think there is a button that says view plans, correct? So I'm going to create a button here that says view plans, like that. Okay. And then now outside of this div, but still within the showcase, I'm going to add another div. And wait a minute. The image comes first, isn't it? Yeah, the image comes first. So actually, let me move this div upwards right above there and then place my image here, and the image should be called intro mobile, like that. Well, at least for now. When we scale it up to bigger screens, then we're going to have to change the image name. And then what do we do next? Once we have done that, I keep switching screens. Okay. So once we've done that, then as you can see, we have, this should be an image. It should be called something like illustration. Let me just confirm this. What is it? Pattern intro, right? Mobile. Yeah, it should be called one of these. So we're going to incorporate those as well. Okay. So let me place another comment below this. Call this section -2. Just give it section 2. And I'm going to call this section with the class of grid-items, like that. And inside grid items, then I'm going to be returning an h2 here with some kind of underline at the top. Okay, so let me just place a comment here and say underline so that I remember. And then I'm going to return an h2 that says we are different, like that. And then once we return we're different, then this is going to be a grid of 1, 2, and 3 items. Okay, okay. So below this, I'm going to create a div with a class of cards. If you have used Bootstrap, this is a common occurrence. And inside this div with a class of cards, I'm going to create another div with a class of card. Actually, wait a minute, what am I doing? I'm using tailwindcss. Okay, but for now, let me just place this so that I know what I'm styling. Okay, so this is going to move up to here, and I'm going to place this inside an h3. So an h3 that says snappy processes, and then a paragraph below this h3 that says this, like that. And then I remember that this should have an image, right? Snappy process. So let's see, is there an image called snappy process? Right there, icon snappy process. So this will be coming from /images, and it's called snappy process, like that. And all we need to do now is just duplicate this single div. We just need to duplicate this single div around 3 more times. So 1, 2, 3. Oops, not 3 more times, but 2 more times. And then we just need to copy and paste. So I'm going to grab this, cut this out, paste it inside here. Wait, I did something wrong. Copy this and then paste it inside here. And then we need to paste this paragraph, cut it out, and just paste it inside here. And remember, the reason for all this is because our main focus is going to be in the CSS, not in the HTML. So I'm going to grab this again, and I'm going to paste it inside here, grab this paragraph, and paste it inside here. Correct. Now we just need to change up the images. So this should say something like affordable prices. Where is it? Snappy process, affordable prices, right there. So affordable prices, and this should say people first, right there. Okay, move these extra spaces, and then let's look at the next section. So the next section is this that says find out more about how we work. Okay, so I'm going to say a section inside here, and inside this section I'm going to return a div with an h3 that says find out more about how we work, like that. And then below this, I'm going to have a button that I think is similar to what we're going to have in our showcase. Let me just confirm that. Right, this button. So we're only going to duplicate this button, basically, just changing the text. So this button is going to say how we work. Move this up, like that. And then once we say how we work, then let me place a comment here and say, remember to add images. And the images that I mean is this image, basically this image. It's not so hard to add, but it can be a bit tricky if you've never dealt with CSS positioning. And then finally we have our footer. Okay, so below this section I'm going to create an HTML footer, HTML5 footer element. So I'm going to say footer, just like that. And inside this footer I'm going to return a let me see how this is structured. I have the logo, and then I have a UL with a class of social. So let me say a div inside here. And then this div is going to have an h3 once again that says, wait a minute, not an h3, but an image, sorry. And this image is going to be coming from /images, and it's called logo because it's the INSURE logo. And then below this div, I'm going to create a UL. And this UL is going to have how many LIs? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4 for the social images, so times 4. And this is going to say i.fab. Remember, we imported font awesome. So fa-Facebook. Is that correct? Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram. fa-Twitter. And this will going to be i.fab and fa-Pinterest. And finally, this is going to say i.fab.fa-Instagram. like that. And if you're wondering why these classes, please go and look at the Font Awesome documentation, and you'll get more about these icons, how to add icons. And then finally, let me move this footer downwards all the way to here, so that I can say that this is going to be an H3, this is an H3 as well, and these are list items inside. Okay, let's look at that. Yep, that is correct. Therefore, what I'm going to do, I want to be able to style this logo with these social icons differently. So I'm going to place them inside an individual div. I'm going to grab this, move it up just a bit, and then I'm going to create another div now. Remember that this is a single div and this is another div. So if I say display flex on it, it won't affect these items inside, and that is what I want. And inside this div, I'm going to turn an H3 that says our company. Grab this, move it up, and then an unordered list with how many list items? 4 times 4. And I'm not going to place them inside hrefs because they don't really go anywhere. And you know what? Let me just place them href for the sake of being accurate to the design. So I'm going to say a href that goes to hashtag, so it goes nowhere. And then the text for this is going to say how we work, like that. I'm going to grab this and just copy it 3 more times and then remove this, like that. This should say why INSURE. This says view plans, and finally this says reviews. And we're just going to duplicate this for the rest of the sections because it's basically going to be the same thing. Let's see. Yep, it's basically the same thing. So what I'm going to do is, because I've done this, I'm just going to grab this div all the way up to there. I'm going to copy it and paste it how many more times? 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, 3. And finally, I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to start from the bottom, grab these others, paste it inside here, grab careers, cut it out, paste it inside here, and finally press, paste it inside here, and finally this, paste it here, and then remove this final link, remove this extra white space, and I'm going to grab this. I'm just basically grabbing it from the bottom up, and I'm going to paste it inside here, grab this, paste it here, grab this, paste it here, and then remove this top one. And then we need to grab the contact and replace the H3 that we have right there. We need to grab this, replace this top H3 here, and then we grab the FAQ that says FAQ right there, terms of use, and we paste it inside there, privacy policy, and we paste it inside here, and finally cookies, and paste it inside here. Okay, so now that we have done all that, I can remove this extra white space. Okay, and finally I can save this. So once I save it, because I have prettier code formatter on, then it will format my code for me, just cleans it up a bit to a point where it's more manageable. And would you look at that? So we have all this, and it's looking nice. It is looking nice. So I'm going to close this. Let me just let me just close this, place this to the side, and then I'm going to open this up with the live server so that you can see the hot reloading as we do it. And I'm going to close this tab, and this is currently what we have. Look at that. Easy peasy. Okay. Remove this. Now let's see. What do we need to do? Obviously, we need to start our styling, and because we're using tailwindcss, I'm just going to say class equals to flex on the header, like that, and I'm going to say items center and justify between, like that, and I'm going to add a padding on the Y of, let's say, 5, and actually padding all around of 5 should be nice, just like that. And this logo is fine as it is. It's big enough that it's visible, but it's not so big enough that it's intruding into your other space, you know. Okay, 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 okay. Now I'm going to leave this our navigation menu for the last thing, probably the last thing that we do. And you know what, instead of using a font awesome icon here, we have an image that is supplied to us called hamburger menu or hamburger.svg, like that. And it should be better. Yeah, it should be better because that is basically what is supplied to us in the design. So we have the same icon that we have here. Okay, that's looking nice. Okay, so let's begin styling our showcase area. And I'm going to go inside this showcase and I'm going to give this image, actually, I'm going to go inside this image, give this image a class of width dash full. We should now take up the entire width like that. Oops. Take up the entire width like that. Okay. So inside the index, back inside my index HTML, then I have this div that I placed that wraps our h1 as well as our paragraph and our button. So inside this div, I'm going to give this div a class of what should I call it? Showcase dash inner. And the reason why is because I want to target this showcase inner in my CSS so that I can give it the default background color of, was it very dark violet, I think. So let me go inside my CSS and I'm going to say that for my showcase dash inner, I want the background color to be, and I'm going to just grab it from my style guide, copy this and paste it inside here. That should be the class. Let me save it. Nope, that is not the color. It should be dark violet. Paste it inside here. Let me try this color, copy this and paste it inside here. Nope, that's not it. That is not it. Dark grayish violet, copy this, paste it inside here. Nope, this should be it. This should be it. Okay, so now let me go back into my h1 and I'm going to say give this a class of text white. So let me continue to style this out. Where was I? I was dealing with the h1. So let me increase the size of this h1 and I'm going to say increase this to text 4XL. Let's say 5XL. Really? Okay, 5XL should be fine. And let's say text dash center. What's happening? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Okay, let me go inside this paragraph, give this a class name of text dash white. I keep saying class name because I'm used to React, but I really mean class. So please don't let that confuse you. Let me also say text center. Let me add a margin on the top of 5 to push away from our header, right? And then a margin bottom of 10 so that it pushes away from the button that we have. And then let me add a default padding all over the showcase so that we have a bit more space, you know, on the top and bottom. So I'm going to say padding on the Y of 20 and padding on the X of 5 so that each of these moves inwards and upwards. Okay, let's continue. Let's see. Where was I? Oops, this is not what I wanted. This is not what I wanted. I added the padding on the wrong place. On the wrong place. Let that reset just a bit. I want the padding on this section, the dark section. Now I want to add the padding on this div right here. I want to add the padding on this div, so I'm going to say padding on the Y of 20 and padding on the X of 5, so that we are going to have this, add some more insurance. Okay, and for this button, I'm going to say for this button, give this a class of, let me see how this is styled. So it's white, it's capitalized, and it has a white border. Okay, so I'm going to say border dash 2 and border dash white. Let's save that. And I'm going to say padding on the Y of 2, padding on the X of 4. Okay, and I should say, actually, let me say padding on the x of 6. Let's save that. I'm going to say uppercase so that it's capitalized, uppercase, and then finally text white. Text white. Okay, that's looking nice. But one thing that you'll notice is that if I try and say text center here, nothing really happens because the button doesn't respond to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a div below this and then grab the button and paste it inside here. And then I'm going to give this div a class name of text center. Text dash center. Like that, we should now move it to the center. So it's looking nice. Now, what we need to do next is actually add our images, these two images. It might be just a bit tricky to add, but it's not really a hard issue. Now, let's add our images. Let us add our images. So at the top left, we have one image on the top left, which is basically this illustration. And then on the bottom right, we have another illustration that goes down below all of this. Okay, so that shouldn't be hard. That shouldn't be hard. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let me just check where this div ends. So within this div, remember please, this is important that we are within this div, and within this div I'm going to add an image tag, and this image is going to be coming from my images, and it's called mobile intro left. This one, the BG pattern intro left mobile SVG, like that. Once I say that, it should appear the right there, looking nice. Okay, and actually what I want to do is I want this at the top because it's going to be much easier to show what happens. So inside this div, just below my h1, I'm going to paste this in, and it should bring it right there. Okay, and then at the bottom, still within this div, make sure that you're still within this div. I'm going to add another image, and it's coming from my images, and it should be bg intro right mobile. Let me save that, and we have that. Okay, so once we have this, then I want these images to be positioned absolute within our section. So that's easy enough to do, but I want to the first thing that I want to do is go inside my main div, my parent div. That is why it was important that this image are within this particular div. So inside this div, I'm going to give this div a class of relative, right, from tailwindcss, and then I'm going to go inside this image, and inside this image I'm going to give this a class of absolute. So once I position this absolute, you'll notice that it should wait, that's the wrong image. I should be inside this image. Give this a class of absolute, right? And you'll notice that now it no longer takes up any space within this section. And I want to do the same thing for my other image, which is basically this. And I'm going to go to the bottom on this image, just paste this in, and you'll notice that this happens. Would you look at that? So we are almost there, but not really. So I'm going to go back into my top image, and inside my top image I'm going to say give this a class of top-0. We should place it to the top. Why does it keep doing that? It's annoying. Okay, so top 0, and then I'm going to say left 0 as well, like that, so it's positioned exactly as it should be. Let's just confirm that right there. Okay, and then we want to do the same to this, but in the opposite, in terms of I want it positioned to the bottom and to the right. So I'm going to go inside this image, and I'm going to say to the right, position to the right of 0 and to the bottom of 0. But this might be an issue because I don't think Tailwind allows negative bottoms. I mean negative margins in terms of position absolute. Yep, and I knew it. So let me see, does it allow a negative margin bottom? Oh, it does. Okay, nice. So let's say -50. Negative -50. Nope, that's too much. Let's say 40. 40 should be fine. Let's see how much this is. Yep, 40 should be fine, so that we have this finally. Now notice that it's looking nice. Actually, it's looking nice. So let's move on to the next section, which is our section 2, where we need to get this aligned to the center. Let's see how this looks. So it's aligned to the center. We have the title here. We have some kind of underline above this. This shouldn't be hard to create. And basically a flexbox or a grid, depending on what you would want to use. Okay, so inside section 2, I'm going to say have this padding on the top, actually padding on the top. Let's say padding on the top of 56, just so that it moves further down than this image. Let me see. Where are you? Almost. Let's say 44. Move it up just a bit, and then above this, I'm going to now create my underline. So I'm going to create a div with a class of bg dash gray dash, let's say 500, with a class of height 1 and with a width of 44. Too big, let's say 32. And then another class of mx dash auto, which should now center it, and we should see this on the screen. Now, the reason why I'm using height 1 is because this is the least height that you can use. I can't use height 0, otherwise, it doesn't display anything on the screen. So height 1 is the least that I can use. So that's why we're going to just work with this. And then this h2, I'm going to give this a class of text center, and then increase the font size. So text, let's say 3xl, xl, if I can just type it. Okay. Let's say margin on the top of 5 pushed away from this underline. Let's see. Okay. Is it worth it to create this in CSS? Let me just do it in CSS instead. Let me create a class of underline here. Oops. And I'm going to say background color. Set this color to F1, 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 a light gray. And then we're going to say for the width, let's use a width of 56 pixels. And for the height, let's say a height of 2 pixels. Should be fine. And margin, let's say margin of auto so that it centers. Save that. Let's see. Where was I? I was going to add, I'm going to remove this and add a div with a class of underline like that. And we should see this very faint. It's too faint. Can't see it. Let me increase this to around there. Okay, let me increase this width to 100 pixels. Let's say 150. 150 should be fine. Reduce this to 1 pixel. Okay, so we have 1 pixel right there. Very faint, but still visible. Let me increase the font size for this, where I'm going to say increase this to 4XL. Wait, what did I have here? I had a 5XL. Yeah, 5XL is still bigger. So we have 4XL right there. And then now inside this div with the class of cars, remember this is the parent div. So I'm going to say for this div, let's say display flex, which should break a bit. And I'm going to say flex column for flex direction column. And I'm going to say align item center. So item center and then justify center, which should now place everything to the center, but it doesn't. If I have this here and I would say, if I say text center on this, the image I think won't be affected though. Okay, and for the image we can just do the same thing that we did basically on the button right here, where I can go inside the image class here and I can say display block and mx auto, which should now push it to the center like that. Okay, so let me copy this and just paste it inside my image inside here, and the image as well inside here. Paste that in, and of course we need to add text center on our card, so text dash center, and then inside here, oh, that's this first one, inside here say text dash center like that. Okay, looking nice, looking nice. You know what, I'm beginning to think I'm doing quite a lot of work, because if I want to add margin on this, then I would have to have margin on each of the divs. Okay, so instead of using a flexbox here, let me use grid instead. So I'm going to say grid and grid columns 1 by default and a grid gap of 5. which will just separate this out just a bit. Let's say 10. Separate them out even further. And then let me go inside this div with a class of card. Let me select all of them. Let me see. Select that one, and I'm going to say that each div should have a max width of, let me say, max width of, what does 96 do? Oops, 96 is too small, or let's say width 96. But I don't really like using all these widths, so instead of using widths, let me say padding on the X should be 32. 32 is too big. Let's say 20. This should look fine. Let me just see how this looks on a mobile screen on iPhone 5. That should be fine. So let's see. This is still too much space, so let me say with 10, padding on the X of 10, sorry, and this should be fine. That should be fine. Place this back to the side and it should be fine. Let's see what we need to do next. I need to add a padding on the bottom of this and add a margin below this header. Let me do that margin first. So below this, I'm going to say margin on the bottom of 10. Pushed away from that, like so. And then let me add padding on the bottom here of 20. Pushed away from this next section, which we are going to do next. Okay, so let's do this section next. Where is our section? Remember to add images. Okay, so for this section, I'm going to say give this a class name. Not class name, that's weird. So give this a class of what did my showcase class have? What did my showcase class have? Is it just a class of showcase inner? Okay, so showcase inner. So I'm going to give this a class of showcase inner, just to reuse the classes so that it has the same background color as our showcase right there. And then I'm going to say padding on the Y of 20, so padding on the top and bottom, and then padding on the X of nope, not padding on the X. Okay, let me go inside this div and give this div a class of padding on the X of 5, like that. And then I can just say text center for everything, text center, like that. And remember that this button is basically the same as the one we had in our showcase. So I can go back to my showcase, and where's my button? Right here. I can just copy this and I can go back here and just paste this in like that, so that you don't have to keep on styling the same thing over and over again. Okay, and then let me go inside this h3, give this a class of text white. Let me see how this is styled. Okay, and I've just realized I need to add a bit more margin between this right here on the cards, and then change the text color of the paragraph. Okay, but I was checking how this is being styled. Okay, so I actually need to have this padding X here so that this would move inwards. Oops, instead of padding, let's have margin so that it moves inwards like that. Okay, let's see. Increase this font size, say text for Excel. Okay, let's have padding on the X on the heading 5, push it inwards just a bit of 10, push it inwards just a bit, margin bottom of 5. We are almost there, not quite yet, but we are almost there. We just need to add this background image now. Wait a minute, is this the same, or did I confuse the images? No, I did not. Okay, we are good to go. So right below this div, not below this div, but within this div below the button, I'm going to add an image here. The source for this would be ./images, and it should be called how we work for mobile right there. And this should happen. And I'm going to go back inside this div, give this a class of relative relative so that I can position this image absolute within this div. So I'm going to say for this image, I'm going to give this a class of absolute like that and place it to the top by 0, right, and to the right by 0 as well. Okay, now the reason why this doesn't go to the top 0 is because remember we have a padding on the main class. So I'm going to remove this padding from here. Let's see. If I remove this padding from here and add it here instead, let's see how this looks. And we are almost there. I just need to add actually let me just reduce this the width of this image. So I'm going to go inside here and say the width of this image should be 32. How small is that? Too small. Let's say 44. Too big. Let's say 40. Should be the right size. And there we go. So that it's contained within this section right there. Okay, so that's looking nice. That's looking nice. And now we just need to deal with our footer and we will be done with the mobile design. Okay. That shouldn't be too hard. Let me go inside the footer, give this footer a class of let's say padding on the Y of 20, and let's say text center. Let's see how that looks. So that we have this and this and this and this. Okay, and this is an image, so I'm going to go inside this image, give this a class of block and mx auto so that it centers like that. Okay, I'm going to go inside this ul, which is basically our social icons, give this a class of flex like that, and then items dash center, and then justify dash center, place it back to the center, and then margin on the y of 5. Nope, let's say margin on the top of 5. Actually, let's say, wait, let me just confirm how this looks. Okay, so let's say margin y should be fine. Margin y should be fine. Y of 5. Okay, and then inside these individual list items, I'm going to give this a class of mx, so margin on the x-axis of 3. Separate them out just a bit like that, and then I'm going to say text dash gray dash 500, make them just a bit lighter. Let's say 600 or 700. Let's say 600. And then let's increase the font size, so I'm going to say text XL. 2XL. 2XL should be fine. Okay, so once we do that, then I want to add a border on the bottom of this UL. So how do we do that? I'm going to go inside this UL right at the end, and I'm going to say border bottom, so border dash B, and border, let's say border gray dash let's say 600, so that we have that. And then I'm going to say padding of the X of 5, which should now push this inwards. Oops, was it margin? Wait a minute. Okay, margin works. So margin of the X of 5 pushes it inwards just a bit. Okay, and then let me add some padding on the bottom so that it pushes away from this border bottom. So I'm going to say padding bottom of 5, pushes it away just a bit from this border, so it's looking nice. The footer has a background color, so let's add a background color on the footer. So I'm going to go back into my main footer class, and I'm going to say bg dash gray dash, let's say 500. Nope, that's not a good idea. Let's say 100. Not too visible. 200. 200 should be fine. Let me just reduce this padding top to be 20 so that I can add, oops, not to be 10, so that I can add a margin on the top of, let's say 20, so that it pushes away from this section. Let me save that. Pushes away just a bit from this section, and then I can add padding on the bottom of 20 like so. Okay, so what next? we target our h3s. Okay. And you know what I'm realizing is that it might be easier to target all these h3s in my css instead of having to add to place the same classes over and over again. So what I'm going to do is just go inside my footer. Wait a minute. Did I give this footer class? Nope, but it's the only footer element on the whole web page, so it's okay. So I can say footer, and I want to target the h3s, and I'm going to say margin on the top and bottom, let's say of 10 pixels, and 0 on the left and right. Let's see how that works. Too small. Let's say 20. 20 pixels should be fine. And I'm going to say text transform, and I'm going to transform this to uppercase like so. Okay. And then I want to target the ULs. Let me see, how did I structure this? I have the ULs and the LIs and then the A's. Okay, so I'm going to say that for the footer, I want to target the ULs, the LIs, and the anchors, so that I can say text transform uppercase. Actually, just copy this, paste it there, and this should now be all uppercase, but they're not. Why are you not? Why are you not? Because this should be inside divs. Let's see that. Oops. Wait a minute. Well, that's embarrassing. That is really embarrassing. Let me try something. Here's how we work inside here. I'm going to give this a class of uppercase. That should work. You know, that's really annoying. So let me just copy this down, and I'm going to grab this and 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 this, and finally these three, and just paste that in. That's kind of an awkward way to do it, but you know, sometimes the awkward way just has to fly. And increase the margin here of 1, space this out just a bit, or rather of 2. Wait, what? Oh, okay, these are block elements, the inline elements, sorry. Let's reduce this to 1, just like that, just like that. Okay, so let's see. The next thing that we need to do actually is our footer image. Remember, our footer has an image, which is basically this. Shouldn't be too hard to add in. So let's go back into our footer. Let's say, where's our footer? Right here. And place a comment and say this is the footer. And inside this footer, I'm going to add an image that's coming from images / BG footer mobile, like that. And we should be able to see it. And the reason why I don't see it is because this has the same background color as the image. So there is our image. So let me just increase this BG to gray dash 100. Okay, that's visible enough. And then let me go inside this image, give this a class of, let's say, width dash full. Take up the entire width. Okay, that's not a good idea. Let's see. Oh, actually, that's how it is. Okay, that's fine. So width dash full, and then let me say absolute. And once I save this, then this should break just a bit. Let me go back inside my footer and say this should be positioned relative, right? And then from here, I can say position to the top by 0, just like that. And then now I can go inside this div and give this div a class of padding top of 44. We should massively push it downwards. Oops, that's the wrong div. Oh, this should say padding top, not padding y. Of 44, let's say of 36. 36 should be fine. Okay, so that we have that for our footer. And as you can see, this is already complete for the mobile design. And oh, let me add some margin between this. Let me go back into this section. Where was it? Right here on this h3, and then on this h3, and then on this h3. I'm going to give each of these a class of margin y of 5. separate it out just a bit, make it more readable and looking nice, looking very nice. Okay, so what do we do next? We can go and begin to scale this up just a bit. Should be fine, should be fine. I say that, but I'm not really sure. Okay, so obviously the easiest one to scale up would be this section. So I'm going to start with that section right away, and that section should be where is it? Come on, right here where I had my grid. And I'm going to say that for medium screens, then I want the grid columns to be 2, and it should happen like that. And then I'm going to say that for large screens, I want the grid columns to be 3. Let's see that, so that we have that. And now I can switch over into my desktop design so that we see what's happening. Okay, we have quite a bit more work to do. These are now text aligned to the left instead of the center. The image is also aligned to the left, and this is a different background image. And the footer is also rearranged just a bit. That's not hard to do, really. Okay, so let's see how this works. Let me go into my index HTML, and I can go inside this div with a padding x of 10. I can select this next one and this next one, and then I can say that for large screens, then I want the text to go back to the left, and this happens. And then I can go inside these images, so I can select this image with MX Auto, select that one and select the third one, and I can say that for large screens, then I want the margin left to be 0, which should now, okay, yeah, there you go. We should now place it back to the left so that we have this. And of course, now we want to move this back to the left, and we want to move this underline to the left as well. So let's see, where was my H3? Well, it was an H2. I can go inside here and say that for large screens, I want the text to be left instead of center. Move it right there, of course, and add a padding. Right, let me add a padding here, padding on the x of, what was it? Was it 10? Did I add a padding on the x of 10 for each of these? Where is it? Padding of 10. Okay, so that we have that, and then we just need to move this to the left as well. But that produces kind of an issue because I have this margin auto right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this, which will break our application just a bit, but it helps us also because it introduces an easier styling. And I'm going to say, where's my index HTML? For my underline, I'm going to say that for large screens, then the margin X should be 10, which does this. But then for smaller screens, I want it positioned back to the center. So I'm going to say MX of auto here, which should position back to the center. And would you look at that? So for large screens, it goes to the left, and for smaller screens, it goes back to the center. So that's looking nice. That's looking nice. Okay. What's happening here? What is happening here? Let me inspect this. Let me see what's happening. Let me see what's happening. It has quite a lot of padding. Let me remove the padding. Let me remove the padding. Where was it? The padding X of 10. So let me select this class. Okay, oops, wait. Let me start by selecting this. Select the next one, and then the next one where I can say for large screens, once again, I want the padding on the X to be 0. Right, which should just you know, CSS can be quite annoying sometimes, you know. Okay, so once I do that, then I want to add padding on the main div for each of these cards. So let me go back to my main div, which is currently this, and I'm going to say that for large screens, I want the padding on the X to be 10, which should move this inwards and this inwards as well. And there we go. There we go. And of course, I'm going to limit this just a bit, limit the screen just a bit so that this doesn't go all the way to the end, because it's a bit hard to read because of the span of the width of the device. Okay. Okay. Let's do this section next. I'm trying to do the easier sections first, that my brain power is reserved for harder things. So let me go to my desktop design. Let me see how this looks. Okay, so we just need to change the background image. This is going to be quite a hassle. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. I'm going to create another section which is going to be hidden by default, but it will only show when the device width is greater than 1024 pixels, which is basically this large media query that we're adding. So let's do that, and we're going to do that for this section, right? So let's see, where are you? We have, this is the section, right? Okay, so I'm going to say create another section, and I'm going to say wait a minute, how we work for desktop, and I'm going to say this is going to have a section with a class of showcase inner, showcase dash inner. And the reason for showcase dash inner is because I want this background image by default. And I'm going to say add an image here. The image will be coming from /images, and it should be this image for the desktop. So how we work for desktop. And then below this, I'm going to have a div, and this div is going to have, what did I have here? An h3. Okay, it's going to have an h3 that says find out more about how it works. So just copy this, paste it inside there, and then below this h3 I'm going to have a button that says how we work. So that says view plans. Wait, is it view plans or how we work? It should say how we work, like that. And this button also says how we work. Okay, and as you can see, it breaks a bit, but that's okay. I'm going to give this a class of hidden by default, like that, so that it disappears from our web page. Okay. Okay. So now what we need to do is at 1024 pixels, then we need to display this as hidden. So display none basically. And then we need to display the other section as block. Okay, so let me do that. So I'm going to say for large screens, then I want display block. And then inside here, I'm going to say that for large screens, I want hidden. So display none. So that they should now switch out, so that we have this, and look at that. So this is working correctly. And now obviously I want to do the same thing where I want to position this image absolute within this section. So I'm going to go inside here, and I'm going to say actually give this a class of relative first of all, if I forget. Relative, like that. And then give this image a class of absolute, and to the right by 0, and to the top 0 not O, and to the top by 0, so that we have that. Okay, and then let me add a padding on this section. So I'm going to say that for large screens, I want padding on the Y to be, let's say 32, so that we have this. Reduce this to 28, just a bit, let's say 24, just a bit. 28 should be fine. Oops, 28 should be fine. 28 should be fine. Okay, and then let's deal with our title right there. So I'm going to go inside my body, this h3, give this a class of text dash white, and font dash not really font bold, because it only has one weight. So text white, and then I'm going to increase the text to 5XL. Let me limit it. Let me say width should be 96, so basically around 384 pixels. Nope, too small. Let's say 2/3, which is what, 66%. Still too big. Let's say a half, like that. Let's say for this div, I'm going to say give this a class of padding on the x of 10. Push it inwards just a bit. Okay. And then this button I want positioned to this side, right? So I'm going to say flex here, like that. And I'm going to say items dash center, and then justify between. We should now place it somewhere there. Okay. And then this button is basically the same as this. So I'm just going to copy these classes and I'm just going to paste it inside here like that. And would you look at that? It's looking amazing. We already have this. And what else do we need to do? What else do we need to do? We need to deal with our footer, right? Okay. I'm still not happy with this. I need to add some margin on the X. So let me go here. And for last one, I'm going to say margin on the X of, let's say, 10. Should be nice. Okay. But then remember that I'm still going to limit all of these. I'm still going to limit all of them just a bit. And actually, let me just do that. I'm going to say that for extra large screens, I want the margin on the X to be 32. Push this inwards even further. Too small, let's say 40. Push it inwards even further. And then let me just copy this. And I'm going to go back into this section, not this one, but this top section. Inside here, I'm going to paste this in, push this inwards, right? Correct. We have not yet dealt with our showcase, so we're just going to leave that hanging just a bit, and then let's deal with our footer. Okay, now for the footer, what do we need to do? Where did I display flex? I did not display the footer as flex, or did I? I did not. That's fine. I just text align center. And I'm going to say that for the footer, for small screens, then I'm going to say I want a grid. And then for small screens, I'm going to say grid columns to be 2, right? And let's say once again for small screens, let's say the grid gap should be 10. Let's see how this looks. We have this. No, not what I wanted. Actually, this still works because this has a massive margin on the top. A padding on the top, sorry. So I'm going to say that for small screens, then the padding top should be 0, which will reset it just to the top. Okay. Still not what I wanted. So let me remove this all the way to here. Cut this out. And then let me check this div. So this div, all of these don't have a parent div. They don't have a parent div. So I'm going to call, let me see what to do. What to do is I'm going to add another div. The structure though. Let me add another div here. Then let me paste this in before I forget it. And I'm going to grab this. And let me check where this ends. Nope. This ends here, this ends here, this ends here. So below this. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab this once again and give this class here. Let's see how this looks. Nope. They're interfering with my brain. But before I do that, let me see if I can do one more thing. One more thing that I should have started with really is this header, this icon really, sorry. So I can go back inside my header, right? And I'm going to give here a nav, going to create a nav bar with ULs and LIs. How many LIs are you? 1, 2, 3, 4. Each of these having anchor tags, but they're going nowhere. Oops. And this says view plans. This one says account. This one says blog, and finally this one says how we work, like that. So I can remove this, and of course, as you can see, this messes up just a bit, but that's fine. I can then go inside this nav, give this a class of let me say absolute, take it out of the normal flow, and I'm going to say what am I going to say? Actually, how is this styled? Let me just see. Mobile nav design. Okay. 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 Hmm. Let's see how this works. I'm going to say top 0, top 0. Actually, okay, let me just continue. Top 0, right dash 0, bottom dash 0, and left dash 0. And then let me say BG, let's say grade dash 900. Let's save that. Let's see how this looks. And this happens. Okay. So everything is working correctly. And then let me go inside these anchor tags. Each of these going to give this a class of text dash white. Right. Okay. And then how is this styled? Capitalized and text center. Okay. So I'm going to say uppercase, not capitalized really, but uppercase. And let me say margin on the Y of what, 3 should be fine. Oops, wrong class. List item, list item, list item, list item. Give this a class of margin Y dash 3, like that. And then I can say text center on this should be fine. Text center, right? And then for this, I want to style this in terms of similar to a button. So I'm just going to copy these tiles that I have on this button, copy this, and then I can just paste them inside here. Remove this class and remove this double quote, so that we have that, but I don't want this to be block. And actually, what am I doing? I just want to have a width of, let's say, width of 40. There you go. That's almost looking nice. That is almost looking nice. But then I want it to the top by 10. Just push it down a bit. Let's say 20. Not 20 is too much. Let's say 16. 16. Okay. So that when you click this, then this should start appearing from here. Let me see how this is. So that we have this, and of course I'm going to change this background image, no worries. And then we need to add this navbar image. So let's see. Right below this, I'm going to add another list item, and this is going to contain my image, which is coming from /images, and it's called should be called what, mobile nav. There you go. And we should be able to see it right there, where I'm going to give this a class of absolute. But remember that this is also absolute, so I need to have this as relative because it's the parent class. Wait a minute, wait, did I do that correctly? Did I do that correctly? I want relative here, relative, and I need to remove this absolute from here and add it here. So class equals to absolute, like that. I hate this. Grab all of this, paste it inside here, like that. And this should, seriously? Are you serious? Okay, you know what? Let me just reset this just a bit. Just a bit. Where was it? Okay, so relative is here. Let me see how this looks. It messes up just a bit. Just a bit. So this is relative. The header is relative. Okay. Okay, okay. And I want this to be positioned absolute. Let me say H screen, which should now take up 100 viewport heights. Okay. And then I am going to say that for this image, where is my image? For this image absolute, I'm going to say position to the right by 0 and to the bottom by 0. We should now place it. Oops. Wait. Where did I mess up? Where is the image? Where are you? Where? Oh, or is it behind? Is it behind this? Is it behind that? Let me say the index of 10 so that I can see where it is. And it's here. That is not what I wanted. I wanted to the bottom by, let's say, 10. Move it up. Let's say bottom. Actually, no, let me just say top first of all so that I can see whether it's appearing or not. So it goes to the top. Let me say this should have a class of, wait, right here, I'm going to say width dash full. Okay. And then I need to move it down. So let me say to the top by 32. Let's say to the top by 44. By 72. 78 is the next class. Nope, 76. Nope, then it should be 80. Not so good. Okay, this is really tiring. This is really tiring. Let me say bottom of 32. Let me say bottom of 44 or 56 or 60 should be fine. I'm just going to leave it at 60 for now. Just going to leave it at 60 so that finally I can go ahead and create our toggle. So let's see, how do we want to create our toggle? We want to excuse me. For our toggle, what we want to do is, let me give this image, or rather let me give this div a class, not a class really, but an ID of menu-btn so that I can target it in my JavaScript. And then let me also give this a class of cursor dash pointer so that it has a cursor pointer on hover. Okay. And then what do we need to do? We need to grab our navbar, which is basically all of this that I've just tiled, and then we need to grab our image. So let's see, let me give this navbar an ID of ID equals to navbar, like that. And then let me link our why this, what is this closing, or is it the div that I removed? Okay, so below this, right below my closing body tag, I'm going to link my style sheet, not my style sheet, but my script, my JavaScript, and I'm going to call it app.js, like that. And then I'm going to create it. So I'm going to create app.js, and I'm going to grab my navbar. So I'm going to say const navbar equals to document.getElement by ID, and the ID that I just gave it is called navbar. And then I'm going to say what I want to grab my menu button, so I'm going to say menu btn equals to document.getElement by, oops, well, there goes my computer. Okay, by ID, and the ID that I just gave it is menu-btn, like that. And I want to add an event listener on the menu button, so I'm going to say menu btn.add event listener, and I'm listening for the click event, and I want to toggle this, and I want to target the navbar, and I'm going to say navbar.classList.toggle, and I will go to toggle the class of open, which we haven't created actually. So let me go back into my index HTML, and I'm going to say wait. Let me go back into my index HTML, and I'm going to say I want all of this to be hidden by default, right? And then I can go inside my style sheet, and right above this I'm going to say that for the navbar, when it has the class of open, then I want to say display block, and this should work. So let's see how this is. Oops. Where is it? Where's my index.html? And there is no class of navbar that I'm targeting, and that's the reason why. So let me save that and let's toggle that, and there we go. So we have our toggle working correctly. Now I'm going to do